So who were the primary perpetrators of violence throughout American history? Now watch this.
But you have to realize that, yes, the involvement of violence in black folks comes from that long history that the president was talking about, that we have to remember that we learned from some of the best. They had some white boys came over here that did the first beheadings in Point Coupee, Louisiana, where I'm from. Slave insurrection, that was the way you dealt with it. Tuskegee syphilis incident. We're going to see how black men die if they have syphilis, but we pretend we treat them with penicillin, and we're just going to watch the pathology of how they die. Now, that wasn't back 200 years ago. That was 1930 to 1974. We're talking about giving these wonderful blankets to the Native Americans infected with smallpox as they walked on that trail of tears just to see how they die and to eliminate their population so we can take all of that land. So the violence that is in America has come from a very learned position that was brought here by some Caucasian folks. All right?
All right, shalom, shalom. This is the brother Shakar here with another lesson through the power and spirit of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. Before I get started, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'Hashem, Yahushai, Ba'Hashem, Rakak Wadash, and double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders of the great millstone from which I learned this truth. Peace and blessings to the house of David, doing his work with all righteousness, truth, and sincerity. And I want to say shalom to the hopeful elect. Shalom. All right, just want to get right into the lesson. You've seen the clip. Okay, really, you got all these tensions going on, these racial tensions, but ultimately, okay, these nations, right now it's you, Esau. Okay, you created Frankenstein's monster. You see, this was what you have done. Ultimately, yeah, it's from the Lord because this is all, coming from Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. Matter of fact, let me start there. Let me go to, let's go to the book of Isaiah, chapter 51 and verse 20. It says, "Thy sons have fainted, they lie at the head of all the streets. As a wild bull in a net, they are full of fury of the Lord Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, the rebuke of thy power." See, and that's our people, man. Just wilding out. You see, but hey, the thing is that they're just emulating what they've seen. See, and that's been the thing for Jacob. Okay, they just emulate the nations. You see, they copy what these nations do. And right now, Esau, as you are the wicked, okay, the wicked, yeah, all these other nations are wicked, and our people have always followed in their ways. But Esau, you are the most wicked. You see, and again, our people have have gone to a point of pretty much no return, man. You see, that's why they kill each other. Okay, they they do all kinds of things that are just they're foul, man. They don't do the things that are right. But ultimately they're just copying you. They're copying what they've learned, okay, from the nations, especially in this time. They're copying you, Esau. Let me grab this. So when let me grab this in Proverbs. So when you sit here and you blame Jacob, especially when it comes to the so-called Negroes, okay, it's you, man. You created that monster. You created Frankenstein's monster. You see, giving us a nigger culture, gangster culture, lowrider culture, okay, so on and so forth. Okay, you poisoned everything. Okay, you're the one that brought guns and drugs and porn and everything else, man, that has destroyed all people, but especially our people. You see, especially the Israelites. But let me grab this in Proverbs chapter 12 and verse 26. And it says, "The righteous is more excellent than his neighbor." Now, who's the righteous? That's the Israelites. But it begins with the elect, because only the elect right now have come back to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. Well, the hopeful elect, Lord willing to become the elect. Scripture says the remnant shall return, okay, and no longer lean, okay, upon, those that smote them. Now, who smote us as a people? Well, all the nations, okay, not just by, physical destruction, but by mental destruction as well. You see? But now those are the hopeful elect. They're leaning upon the Holy One of Israel. You see, in truth. But again, the righteous, That's it. That's the Israelites. But it begins with the elect. Again, the righteous is more excellent than his neighbor, but the way of the wicked seduceth him. You see, you seduce, okay, the Israelites to be just like you, man. You seduce Jake to be just like you. You see, but again, that's been the issue with our people from the very beginning, man. Following the ways of these heathen nations, because all these nations are wicked, but you, Esau, you're the most wicked. You see, you were created to be the wicked of the earth. So right now in this time, why are you surprised, okay, that Jake is the way he is? You created that. You created Frankenstein's monster. Let me grab that because I pulled that up earlier. Right here. It says the saying, you have created Frankenstein's monster, means you have built or brought into existence something that ultimately turns against you. You see, and that's exactly what's happened, man. Okay, you created Jake, okay, with your wicked ways. Ultimately, again, it's from the Lord. Okay, the Lord is using you, Esau, as the whooping stick, okay, for Jacob's disobedience. You see? Again, it says, the saying you have created Frankenstein's monster means you have built or brought into existence something that ultimately turns against you. So why are you surprised, that Jake hates you? Okay, Jacob does not like you. You see, we know and understand that's been from the womb. Okay, 2 nations are in thy womb. Okay, even Rebecca said, if this is a blessing, why am I thus? Because the Jacob and Esau were going at it, okay, in the womb, man. You see? So why would you think it's any different now? No, you've caused this, man. It says, listen, again, it says that ultimately turns against you, causes your ruin, or spirals entirely out of your control.
It's alive. It's alive. It's alive. It's alive. It's alive. Oh, in the name of God. Now I know what it feels like to be God.
See, now you can't control Jake. You see, you had us under subjection when you had the so-called Native Americans, so-called Hispanics, so-called Latinos, okay, so-called Negroes. When you had them in subjection, okay, you had control to a point, as much as the Lord allowed you to control. You see, but now the tables are turning around, man. Everything's being turned right side up, and ultimately that's going to happen when the Lord returns, takes you out of power, okay, and sets up the kingdom. You see, Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. You see, but you created this. And ultimately, this was going to lead to your destruction, man. And right now, you have that saying also, you're poking the bear, man. You're rousing up, okay? Ultimately, it's the Lord, but it's you that's rousing up, okay, Jake. Matter of fact, let me go ahead and get rid of that. That's all I wanted from there. Let me see, that's Genesis chapter 49 and start at verse 8. It says, Judah, it says, thou art he whom thy brethren shall praise. Thy hand shall be in the neck of thy enemies. Thy father's children shall bow down before thee. Yeah, because, amen, Jake is the head tribe. You see, so-called Negroes, okay, are going to be followed by the so-called Hispanics and so-called Native Americans. You see, they're going to follow you. Again, Judah, you are the head tribe, man. And what you do, the rest of the tribes follow. It says, thy father's children shall bow down before thee. 2/3, a portion of 2/3 got to get wiped out, man. And there's going to be a portion of you Edomites, a portion of you other nations that are going to get involved. They got to get wiped out as well. See, but ultimately the elect, that's going to happen at the end, man. At the end, when the Lord gives that spiritual power to those select spirits, you see, and then the Lord going to be okay with his people, you see, and when it comes to these devils, they're going to get taken down. Listen, it says, Judah is a lion's whelp. It says, from the prey, my son, thou art gone up. He stooped down. He crouched as a lion, as an old lion. Who shall rouse him up? See, and ultimately, that's the Lord, man. The Lord is rousing up, okay, Jake. But he's using you damn Edomites, okay, and also you other nations, but but mostly, most of you damn so-called white people. Okay, again, you're rousing up Jake. Okay, to get him, okay, to get him to strike. You see, but ultimately, it's just part of the prophecies. The uproars of the people. Okay, the race wars. Okay, the friction. Okay, the hatred. Okay, between Jacob and Esau. You see, but again, this has been the history of our people, man. We've always been like this, and that's what I really wanted to focus on. This is what our people have done. They've always followed after these other nations, trying to emulate them, trying to be like them. Matter of fact, let me go here to 1 Samuel. Yeah, this is 1 Samuel chapter 8 and verse 4. And it says, "Then all the elders of Israel gathered themselves together and came to Samuel unto Ramah. It says, and said unto him, Behold, thou art old, and thy sons walk not in thy ways. Now make us a king to judge us like all the nations." You see that? Just like all the rest of the heathen nations. See, our people, they wanted a king, man. Ultimately the Lord did give Israel a King Saul, the first king, but ultimately the Lord is our king. Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai is our king. But this is the mindset of our people. Always wanting to follow the ways, of these heathen nations. Now let me stay here in the 8th chapter. Let me jump down to the 19th verse. Yep, I'll go ahead and highlight those. And it says, "Nevertheless, the people refused to obey the voice of Samuel, and they said, Nay, but we will have a king over us." It says that we may also be, listen, like all the nations. It says, and that our king may judge us, and go out before us and fight, our battles. And this is the mindset of our people, man. Again, wanting to be, like the rest of the nations. Let me go here. Let me go here to the book of Leviticus. This is the book of Leviticus, chapter 18 and verse 3. And it says, after the doing, let me start up. Let me just start from the top. Leviticus 18 verse 1, it says, "And the Lord Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, I am the Lord Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, your power." You see the Lord making it very clear, man. He's the power of Israel. Listen, after the doings of the land of Egypt, wherein ye dwelt, shall ye not do, and after the doings of the land of Canaan, whither I bring you, shall ye not do, neither shall you walk in the ordinances. Why? Because they were doing foul shit, man. Worshiping all kinds of idols. Participating in practices, that went against the Lord, man. Listen, you should do my judgments and keep my ordinances to walk therein. I am the Lord Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, your power. You shall therefore keep my statutes and my judgments. It says, which if a man do, he shall live in them. I am the Lord Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, your power. You see? So it's a commandment, that we were not supposed to follow the ways of these nations, but instead our people, what? They want to go ahead and follow them, man. See, they want to do the things the other nations do. Again, Jake is emulating, all the heathen nations. All right, let me go to 2 Kings. I'm just getting some examples of Jacob, wanting to be like the nations. 2 Kings chapter 17. Let me see. And let's go to verse 7. Yep. It says, "For so it was that the children of Israel had sinned against the Lord Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, their power, which had brought them up out of the land of Egypt, from under the hand of Pharaoh, king of Egypt." It says they had feared other gods. It says, "And walked in the statutes of the heathen, whom the Lord Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai cast out from before the children of Israel, and of the kings of Israel." It says, which they had made. So you see, as we follow these other nations, you see, it was a rebelliousness, man. It was us being stubborn, stiff-necked towards the Lord, man. You see, Again, the Lord gave us commandment not to follow these nations. But okay, as a people, okay, Jacob, we've always done this. Now let me jump down to verse. Let me see. Well, I'll go ahead and read verse 12. It says, "For they served idols, whereof the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai has said unto them, you should not do this thing." See, and that's what happens when you go after these other nations. The scripture says the gods of the nations are idols, but the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai made the heavens. Psalms the 96th chapter. You see, so when we follow the ways of these other nations, okay, we're following idols. Let me jump down. Let me see. Yeah, I'll go ahead and highlight it. Verse 15. And it says, "And they rejected his statutes and his covenant that he made with their fathers, and his testimonies which he testified against them." Listen, "and they followed vanity and became vain, and went after the heathen that were round about them, concerning," listen, "whom the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yoshai had charged them that they should not do like them." So you see, the Lord always gave us commandment, okay, not to be like these other nations. You know, he always gave us the commandment to be separate, okay, to be holy. But again, you know, that's why the Lord gave us the law, statutes, commandments. You know, he's not dealt with any other nation, okay, as far as the commandments, the laws, okay, the statutes go. You see, but again, you know, our people being very stiff-necked, rebellious, this is what we've done, man. This is what we've always done, okay, unto this day. Now, let me jump down to, let me go to Psalms. The book of Psalms, chapter 106. And let's go to verse 35, right to the point. It says, actually, you know what? Let me start off in verse 34. It says, "They did not destroy the nations concerning who the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yoshai commanded them." And that was the point, man. Hey, the Lord commanded us to destroy these nations. Okay, but we did not do it. Instead, what do we do? What's going to tell you? It says, "But were mingled among the heathen and learned their works, and they served their idols, which were a snare unto them." You see, this is something. You see, this is something that we've always done. You see, and the Lord had always commanded us not to do it. Okay, but we did it as a people. All right, let me go to Jeremiah, the 10th chapter. Jeremiah chapter 10. Now I'm just getting some scriptures on how the Lord commanded us not to follow their ways. But again, we did that. This is Jeremiah 10, and we continue to do it. Again, as a nation, as a people, as Israelites. It says, this is Jeremiah 10, verse 1. It says, "Hear ye the word which the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yoshai speaketh unto you, O house of Israel. It says, Thus saith the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yoshai, learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them." Yeah, this is speaking about, okay, because when you go back to, actually, let me get it. Let me go ahead and get it. Let me go to the GNT. Yeah, and it also speaking about, the so-called UFOs, okay, because these heathen nations, they're just made it, at seeing them. But for us, okay, we know what they are. Okay, we should know what they are, especially in this time because it's been revealed. You see, this truth has come out. But when it comes to these nations, they don't have an understanding. Okay, that's why they come out with their lies. Little green men, gray men, okay, Anunnaki, okay, so on and so forth. No, man, that's not what they are. Okay, that's the chariots of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yoshai. But ultimately, it goes back into what? Idol worship. Let me, what is that? Deuteronomy, I believe it's the 4th chapter. Let me see. Yep, let me go ahead and highlight this. This is, I'll just read it. This is Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 14. It says, "The Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yoshai told me to teach you all the laws." It says that you are to obey the land that you that you are about to invade and occupy. Now the subheading says here, warning against idolatry. It says, when the Lord Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai spoke to you from the fire on Mount Sinai, you did not see any form. For your own good, then make certain that you do not sin by making for yourselves an idol in any form at all, whether man or woman, animal or bird, reptile or fish. It says, do not be tempted to worship and serve what you see in the sky. You see, the sun, the moon, and the stars. Because from all that comes what? Idol worship, idols. Listen, it says, the Lord Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, your power, has given these, listen, to all other peoples for them to worship. So again, going back to what? The gods of the nations are idols. You see? Again, so the Lord gave us commandment, okay, not to follow in the ways of these nations. But again, what has Jake done? What does Jacob do? Okay, follow them. Okay, do the same things that the heathen do. Emulate the heathen. Let me go to Ezekiel. This is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 5. And let me see. Yeah, verse 7. Actually, you know what? Man, I'm going to start from verse 5. It says, thus saith the Lord power, this is Jerusalem. I have set in the midst of the nations and countries that are round about her. And that's because we've been scattered. It says, and she had changed my judgments, listen, into wickedness more than the nations, and my statutes more than the countries that are round about her. For they have refused my judgments and my statutes. It says, they have not walked in them. It says, therefore, thus saith the Lord power, because you multiplied more than the nations that are round about you. It says, and have not walked in my statutes, neither have kept my judgments, neither have done according to the judgments of the nations that are round about you. Therefore, thus saith the Lord power, behold, I, even I, am against thee, and I will execute judgments, see, in the midst of thee, in the sight of the nations. So again, yeah, Jake, he emulates these nations, especially now in today's time. Okay, these damn Edomites. Okay, but what? This is the rebuke from the Lord, man. This is all come from Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, again, because of our disobedience. All right, let me stay here in Ezekiel. Let me go to the 11th chapter, and let's go to verse 12. And it says, and you should know that I am the Lord Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, for you have not walked in my statutes, neither executed my judgments. See, but have done after the manners of the heathen that are round about you. Hey, so this is all coming from Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, man. Okay, that's why as Jacob, we're in the position we're in. You see, and ultimately, you know, what's going to happen is these nations, especially when it comes to these Edomites, okay, they're going to rouse up Jake, man. They're going to rouse up, okay, Judah. But then you're going to have the rest of the tribes follow, man. You see, this is ultimately going to be the downfall, okay, of a portion of the 2/3, man. Okay, this is the judgment from the Lord, man. And at the same time, you know, some of these nations, a portion of these nations, okay, a portion of the Edomites, they're going to be taken out. You see? So let me go to First Maccabees. Now this is you, Esau, when you came into rulership. Let me see. First Maccabees. Let's go to the first chapter. Let me see. Yeah, I'll start off in verse 7. It says, so Alexander, speaking about Alexander the Creep, you know, people know him as Alexander the Great, right? But, you know, this is when the so-called white man, okay, took over Japheth's land, you see? Because you got a lot of dumb idiots that say that the so-called white man is Japheth. No, they took the land. You see, they took the land of brown people, okay, what you would know today as Hawaiians, Samoans, okay, so on and so forth. Okay, at that time, there were the Etruscans, the Minoans, you see? And Esau, what he's done, this is what he does. You know, he rules by the sword, by his blessing. You see, by his blessing. You know, he always claims to be everybody but who he is, man. Okay, they're the Edomites, the so-called white man, they are Esau. Listen, It says, so Alexander reigned 12 years and then died. It says, and his servants bare rule, everyone in his place. And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves. It says, so did their sons after them many years, and evils, were multiplied in the earth. Listen, it says, and there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, son of Antiochus the king, who had been a hostage at Rome. It says, and he reigned in the 137th year of the kingdom, of the Greeks. But this is not the original Greeks. Again, the original Greeks were the Japhites, are the Japhites. You see, but as the Edomites, they took the land. Let me jump up real quick to verse 1. It says, and it happened after Alexander, the son of Philip, the Macedonian, which are Edomites, it says, who came out of the land of Chittim, had smitten Darius, the king of the Persians, and Medes, and he reigned in his stead, the first over Greece. They took the land and evils, were multiplied. But let me jump down to verse 11. This is the point. It says, in those days went there out of Israel wicked men who persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a covenant, with the heathen that are round about us. Nothing changed, man. Jake want to be, like the rest of these nations. It says, for since we have parted from them, we have had much sorrow. So this device pleased them well. It says, and certain of the people were so forward herein that they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinances, of the heathen, whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem according to the customs of the heathen. That's where you get gymnos, which naked, because that's what they would do. They would exercise, nude. And Jake wanted to do the same thing. Why do you think today, in the gyms, you see all, especially these women, showing everything, man. You see, these are all things that were learned from you, Esau. But then you turn around and you talk your shit, man. Again, ultimately, it's from the Lord. But this is you, man. You created, the monsters. It says, listen, and made themselves uncircumcised and forsook the holy covenant and joined themselves to the heathen, and were sold to do mischief. You see, and that's where you get the circumcision and the uncircumcision. They were literally, putting back, the skin on the penis. I believe it's called ipu. Let me see. I got it in my notes. Let me look it up real quick. And you can look it up for yourself. Epispasm. You can look it up. It's EPISPASM. Which literally meant what? Putting the foreskin, back on the penis, man. You see? But see, this is the thing, man, that our people wanted to follow the ways of these heathen nations, because it was a custom for what? For Israel, the Israelites, to be circumcised. It's a law. You see, it's a law from Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, man. But ultimately, our people became what? Uncircumcised in the mind. They became Gentiles. That's why when you go to the New Testament, you have what? The circumcision and the uncircumcision. The Jew and the Greek. The Jew and the Gentile. They're speaking about, the Israelites, that were not following the traditions. Not following the customs. They were walking in the ways of the heathen, just like our people do today. You see? And it says here they sold and were sold to do mischief. Unto this day, man. This is what our people do. They follow the ways, of these heathen nations, especially in this time, following after the ways of the so-called white man. Let me jump down. Well, let me go. All right, let me go to 2nd Maccabees. I got a couple more. 2nd Maccabees, chapter 4, and verse 10. You know what? Let me actually get this in the. Let me get it in the. Let me see. So lock it. Let me get it in the GNT. If I may. Yeah. Let's go to 2nd Maccabees 4 and 10 in the. We'll read it in the GNT. Yep. This is 2nd Maccabees chapter 4, verse 10. And this is going into Jason. It says, the king gave his approval, and just as soon as Jason took over the office of high priest, he made the people, listen, Jerusalem change to the Greek way of life. See, and that's our people all day to day, man. Okay, following the ways of this Greco-Roman, mindset. It says he began by abolishing the favors that John had secured for the Jews from the previous Syrian kings. John was the father of Eupolemus, who later went to Rome to make an alliance and to establish ties, of friendship. Jason also did away with our Jewish custom, Israelite customs. It says it introduced new customs that were contrary, to our law. It says, with great enthusiasm, he built a stadium near the Temple Hill and led our finest young men to adopt, the Greek custom of participating in athletic events. In the King James, it says what? That he made them wear a hat. It says, because of the unrivaled wickedness of Jason, that ungodly and illegitimate high priest, the craze, the craze, man, these ways of these other nations, especially when it comes to Esau, it drives our people crazy, man. The craze for the Greek way of life and for foreign customs reached such a point that even the priests lost all their interest, in their sacred duties. They lost interest in the temple services and neglected the sacrifices. Just as soon as the signal was given, they would rush off to take part in the games that were forbidden by our law. See, our people are what? They were such in love with the ways of these other nations, well, especially when it comes to this Greco-Roman, mindset. They go away from the ways of the Lord, man. Okay, that's why our people do all kinds of foul shit. Okay, but ultimately they're just emulating, especially in this time, the so-called white men. It says, again, they did not care about anything their ancestors had valued. They prized only Greek honors. Let me read verse 15 I'm going to read it in the King James. It says, not setting, by the honors of their fathers, but liking the glory of all the Grecians, best of all. By reason thereof, sore calamity came upon them, for they had them to be their enemies and avengers, whom custom they followed so earnestly, and whom they had desired to be like in all things. You see? And that's the same way today. Our people want to be, like these people, like Esau and the other nations, but mainly Esau. It says, for it is not a light thing to do wickedly against the laws of the Most High, but the time following shall declare these things. You see, so in this time, what do you have? You have these race wars, brewing up, man. And ultimately, Jacob, is gonna take the kingdom, man, as it tells you in Daniel the 7th chapter. But we know, when it first jumps off, Esau's gonna get the upper hand, man. The Lord gonna put a spirit upon Esau to go back to what? To the ancient Edomite, mindset, man. You see? And this man has a sword. There's no way, you're gonna be able to defeat this man with his own blessing. Ultimately it's gonna take what? Divine intervention from Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, to be, ultimately with his elect, man. And then with that, that's when Esau's gonna go down, man. To the power and spirit, of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. But again, it's you, Esau. You're mad. You're upset. With Jake. But you created that monster, and we know ultimately it was from the Lord. You see, but you are to blame, Esau, because you're the one that's done it, man. You did it. So with that, Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. I'm gonna go ahead and close out and give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rakah Kodash, and double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders of the great millstone from which I learned this truth. Peace and blessings to the house of David doing his work with all righteousness, truth, and sincerity. And I want to say shalom to the hopeful elect. Shalom.